Excellent. So now that we know a little bit about you guys, I would like to ask my wonderful students to open up their cameras so they can introduce themselves. And again, pay close attention to what they're studying so you can target your questions, okay? So over to you guys, Mark, Stephanie, and then we'll finish up with Sophia.
All right, yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark. I am a third-year student at McGill, and I'm currently in the Faculty of Science studying statistics and computer science. And I am also from New Jersey, so a 6-hour drive directly south of Montreal.
Excellent. Thank you. Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie. I'm from Montreal. I'm in the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science, and I'm studying physical therapy.
Excellent. Thank you. And Sophia.
Okay, yes. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm from New York City. I am also in the Faculty of Science, and I am studying math, and I'm in my second year.
Excellent. Okay. So, Sophia, you will take over. Thank you.
Yes. And I'm also the first person presenting. So thank you guys and welcome for coming. This is just basically a little bit about my time at McGill in the Faculty of Science. The first photo is a photo I actually took myself at the top of Montreal when I went to hike up there for sunrise. And I highly recommend you do that if you come to Montreal at least once. The views from up there are incredible. Okay, continuing. So my first year in science. So I came from the US, so I had some AP credits, which meant I had 17 college credits, which meant I was in U0. I wrote U0.5. It's a term I kind of just use. The way that McGill does credits is kind of confusing, but basically it's just how many college credits you have left until you finish your degree. U0 means you have 120 credits left. U1 means you have 90 credits left. U2 means you have about 60. U3, you have about 30. So I'm currently in U1, so I have like 2 more years left of college. So that's basically a little bit about that. So in the Faculty of Science, you have a bunch of required courses that you have to take, which are like chemistry, physics, math, and biology. I'm a math major, so I didn't take any biology because that was like the furthest from what I was doing. But I did take Chem 110 and Chem 120, which everyone has to take, which is that's a fun course. I took the first half of physics in high school. There's 2 different tracks for physics. There's calc-based and there's algebra-based, and I did calculus-based, which is Phys 131 and 142. There's a lot of numbers. I like numbers, so I like course codes. I did Calc 1 and 2 in high school, so when I came to McGill my freshman year, I did Introduction to Linear Algebra, which was a good start that's a good course because it just approaches math in a very different way from any other thing you've probably seen in high school, which I really enjoyed. And I took Calc 3 over the summer. I highly recommend taking summer courses. It's just such a good way to get courses done during the summer if you're not doing anything else, and they're very manageable. It's just like 1 month. You'll do a course in a month. It's great. You also get to take electives if you have time. So for me, I was able to take French as a second language, which I highly recommend for all the international students out there because French courses are they cost Quebec tuition, so it's a really smart way to like save money if you are trying to do that for electives. And also learning French is really great if you don't know it in Quebec. You can totally live in Montreal without knowing French at all. Like everything near McGill, everyone speaks English, but it's just like a little extra. So when I first came to McGill, I thought I wanted to be a computer science major. So this is like the image to the bottom right is like some of my code. I very quickly realized I did not want to do that in my first year. But it was still good to be able to explore a little bit and see what I wanted to do. And then the photo in the top right is a photo of WeCock 132, which is like this massive lecture hall. It holds 650 people. You'll probably have a bunch of classes there, but don't worry, it seems intimidating. There's lots of other ways to get to meet like your classmates, which is my next slide. So there's a lot more to science courses than just going to your lectures, which I kind of didn't realize what else there is, but it's more than just that. There's like, you'll be busy. There's tutorials, which is where a TA will go over like a problem set. For math, I found these are like imperative. Tutorials are great because you really can have time to ask your questions and go through problems that would be on an exam. For science courses, of course, a lot of them have labs. So for me, in my first year, I did chemistry labs and I did physics labs, which were really fun. And you get to work with other kids in your class, and it just means you get to meet more people. And then going to office hours, of course, everyone will talk about how important it is to go to office hours for your professor. But personally, I've also found that going to office hours with your TA, which is like a graduate student who helps the professor run the course, is also really, really helpful, especially if you're struggling on like a homework problem set, because they usually have less kids coming to them for questions. So they're really able to focus on your questions. And it's also a good way to meet other kids in your class who are struggling, and then you can talk to other people and you guys can work together. And I've made like a lot of friends through us just like struggling in office hours. And then for first year courses, they have this really awesome thing called Fresco, which is from like 3 to 5, like almost every day of the week. In one of the cafeterias, there's just a bunch of TAs and sometimes professors there to answer your questions. And it's a little chaotic. Well, at least it was chaotic in person, but I found them really, really helpful. And it was like a cool opportunity to just like see your prof and you're like, whoa, that's my professor. All of these things have moved online, and I know they have Fresca online. I know I've been to office hours online. Labs, I think, are in person or not. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not in any lab courses this year, but all of these things have moved online and are also very convenient and very helpful as well. So yeah, the shift to online. So I began at McGill in 2019. So I actually had a full semester and a half in person before like everything became online. That's also a photo of me on my computer. I was like, oh, it's because it's online. Funny. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so that means like exams are online, which I think at the beginning professors were, and everyone honestly was struggling with figuring out how are we going to shift to this format. And there's a bunch of different ways people do it. That's kind of more boring, all like the different platforms. But I think definitely professors by this point have kind of figured out how to teach to students. You know, they figured out how they like to run their Zoom lectures, how to answer questions, how to run office hours, how to like make the classroom feel like a place where people know each other. I know I have a professor who like makes polls, and if you fill out the poll, he'll put you in like a study group, so that way you can have people to study with, which I think is really nice. And there's a bunch of other ways to keep connected to people. In my opinion, I think Facebook is one of the most necessary parts of McGill, and I think that everyone who goes to McGill should have a Facebook and know how to use it, especially as things have been online. It's just imperative for knowing like what events are happening if you want to go to like a social event or a research event or like a networking event or something like that. A lot of these things and a lot of clubs post their events on Facebook. Furthermore, I think it's really useful for getting into class group chats. I've made like all of my friends this year through class group chats from us just being like, I don't know how to do this math problem. Let's call, and then you call, and then you also like make friends that way. That's my biggest piece of advice to anyone coming to McGill: learn how to use Facebook. There's also Discord. Like I know the math department has a really awesome Discord, which is a cool place to go to also ask questions to other people and like study. But they also have a lot of fun virtual events like movie nights and playing Among Us, etc. So the shift to online was definitely rough, but hopefully things will be more hybrid or in person in the future. And I'm sure the shift back will also have its own challenges, but it'll be very exciting to get to like see all your friends again and to sit in lectures again. Yeah, so I'm in my second year, so I'm just taking a bunch of math classes. Oh, I put Minerva. So you register for your courses on Minerva, which is kind of also daunting at first and is kind of difficult to use. If you guys are applying to McGill or have applied to McGill, you've seen Minerva. But the more you use it, the more you get used to it. It's also useful for seeing what classes you have to take. For me personally, like I love just looking through like the courses I need to look through. You can also look on this thing called eCalendar for that. So yeah, for my program, you have required courses, complementary courses, and electives. So this year, in your second year in science, you really start taking more courses for your program, which is more exciting, and it's, for me at least, was more interesting than the freshman requirement courses. So I got to take like abstract analysis, real analysis, abstract algebra, more calculus, and stuff like that, which I really liked. But I also, because I'm only doing a major, I have lots of time for electives. So I took an econ class this year and a religion class this year, which is one of the nice things about being in the Faculty of Science. You can also take classes in the Faculty of Arts for anything that interests you. And you can also make your classes pass-fail, so it's not as much pressure for a certain amount of electives. So I made my religion class pass-fail because I was like, I don't want to be worrying that much about my essays that I'm writing. I just want to learn, you know? So it's fun. That's a bit about my classes. There's also more to school than class. So after your first year at McGill, you will almost definitely, if you're not living at home, you will live in an apartment either by yourself or with other students, which I really enjoy because it gives me this great sense of independence. And I really like cooking and baking, so there's lots of space for that. Montreal is a fantastic city to live in. It has one of the highest numbers of restaurants per capita out of any city in North America. I think it's like third. Just the food, incredible. I love it. The parks, there's so many good parks to walk around, especially right now because it's getting warmer. There's just always people around in parks just reading, or I've seen people studying in the parks or just like chilling. It's just a fantastic city. It's very walkable. It's really easy to get around. The transportation systems are really great, and it's just very alive. There's art everywhere there's like street art, but Montreal also does like installations. Like a few weeks ago, there was literally just this Ferris wheel that you could just go on for free. And there's ice skating rinks everywhere in winter to go ice skating, also for free if you have your own ice skates. It's great. I'm also a part of several extracurriculars. Like I'm just in a few clubs and I do like random student government stuff, but I'm kind of out of time. So I just would like to say thank you all for listening. I hope this was informative and got you excited about applying or coming to McGill. It's a wonderful university and I'm really happy to be here. Yeah, does this stop screen sharing? I think it does stop screen sharing. Okay.
Oh, Patricia, I think you're muted.
Yep. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So thank you, Sophia, very much for your presentation. I have given Stephanie access to presentation. And thank you very much for your questions. I see a few coming up. It's all over to you, Stephanie.
Great, thank you so much. I'll just get set up. Let me know if you could see my screen.
Yeah, go ahead and put it in. There you go. Perfect.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. Like I said before, my name's Stephanie. I'm from Montreal, and I'm a first-year physical therapy student here at McGill. So I guess I'll just give a little overview of science. If you're interested in science, McGill is the university for you. We offer so many different types of science programs. So we have the Faculty of Science, so there's Bachelor of Science programs ranging from anatomy, physiology, chemistry, math, like what Sophia said, physics, and the list goes on. There's engineering, there's my faculty, so the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science. And there's also arts and science faculty. So if you're not sure if you want to do just science, it's like a good alternative because it's a mix of both. And I believe most of the science programs at McGill, there's 5 classes per semester, unless, of course, you'd like to drop a class. And personally, I've taken anatomy classes, physiology, statistics, that's pretty cool, professional practice, biomechanics, and a complementary class. So you might be wondering, what is professional practice? Well, because I'm in a healthcare program, it's important to understand like how to be like have professional behavior. And also complementary, like Sophia said, like there's classes that you could take that aren't scientific, so just to broaden your knowledge in other faculties, for example. So there's more than just theoretical classes. There's also lab classes. So you learn like a lot of theory and then you apply that theory in a lab class, which is very interesting. I'll get into that later. And also there's stages. So since McGill is affiliated, lots of hospitals are affiliated with McGill, you can get some pretty cool stages, and I'll be talking about that later as well. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about my favorite class, or I should say faculty at McGill. I love anatomy here at McGill. So usually it's set up as like 2 hours of theory each week, 1 hour per class. So it's like a great way to like be concentrated and focused because it's just 1 hour, right? And then at the end of the week, you'd have a lab. So far, I've been taking musculoskeletal anatomy and visceral anatomy. So musculoskeletal anatomy, I could tell you any muscle in your body right now. If you point somewhere, I'll know what muscle it is. I've learned every muscle, their functions, innervations, blood supply. And then visceral anatomy, I've been learning a lot about the organs. So I have a little picture here. This is the anatomy lab here at McGill. And what's very interesting is that McGill has, they have body donors, right? So we get to do dissections. So that's like, it's a great way to apply your knowledge, because in theory classes, you know, you have like a two-dimensional picture of the anatomical structure, but in lab, you get to see it in 3D. So it really enhances your learning. And I believe McGill is the only university in our area that actually gives this opportunity to their students. So it's really great. And the anatomy professors here at McGill, they're very nice, because they spend the extra time to talk about things that just aren't about school, like, right? Job opportunities, how to have like a proper work-life balance, things of the sort. I thought I'd also mention just a bit about physiology. I also love these classes, but the reason why I want to talk to you about it is because I have a lot of friends in Bachelor of Science, and they all take physiology. So it's like a class that a lot of Faculty of Science students take. And for that reason, it's a pretty large class. I'd say about like 800 students or so. And we have like 3 classes a week of an hour. And what's really cool is that every 2 weeks you have a new professor. So each professor specializes in a certain body system, let's say, so the respiratory system. Then 2 weeks later, a new professor comes and talks about a different thing. So they really, really know what they're talking about. So it's great. And the professors in this class, they offer a lot of research opportunities, and they send out, you know, scholarships, well, applications for scholarships. And they also give us ideas of summer jobs that have to do with our faculty. So it gives you great experience. So now I'll talk a little bit about my stage. So far I've done the telehealth program. So you might not know, but the Jewish General Hospital is affiliated with McGill. So I was given a stage there, and it's in geriatrics. And it's anyone who had recently undergone surgery. So my job was to do orientation. So basically I'd ask them, you know, what's your name? Where are you? Things of the sort. Then I do exercises, right? Because I'm in physiotherapy, so that's the whole point. And then of course, not everyone likes doing exercises, so it's important to do recreational activities. So I've like listened to music, played Sudoku with the patients and stuff to help keep them mentally and physically stimulated. That's what our goal was. And my program, it's Bachelor of Science and Master's combined. So once I reach the Master's portion, there's going to be so many stages to come. I'm really excited. And yeah, so it's a bit about my stage. And also, it's not just about school, right? It's not just about studying. It's also about doing other things. And I decided to join student council. So I believe a lot of the different programs in the Faculty of Science have their own little student council organization. So I joined the Physical and Occupational Therapy Undergraduate Society. So there I'm a first-year representative. So if any students have like concerns about classes or professors or things, I'm like the intermediary between them and the dean, let's say, and then I like attend council meetings to try to like express their concerns. And it's like usually like an elections process, so it's pretty cool. You gotta get like the signatures, then there's the voting period and things like that. And I'm also happy that I'll be a second-year representative next year. But there's obviously more than just student council clubs. There's clubs that don't necessarily have to do with your faculty at all or with science. It could just be a club that's just a bunch of different people with the same interest. And I guess I'll just finish off with a couple of tips for a science student. So I'd say make sure to review the previous material before attending the next class, right? So like I said, there's like many sessions in the week, but of 1 hour. So, and it builds up, right? So it'd be a good idea after taking a class, just reread the material. So this way, when you go to the next class that week, you already know what they're talking about, so you don't get behind. I'd also say show up to labs prepared. In the anatomy lab, we have lab instructors, and they point to different structures, they quiz you on what you know and things like that. So if you show up to a lab and you don't know anything, you're not gonna understand what you know and don't know. So if you go prepared, you'll be like, oh, I don't really understand that. Okay, great, write it down. So stuff like that. Of course, the obvious one, ask questions. A little study tip, I'd say use flashcards, right? So I've had to memorize a lot of muscles and things. So on a cue card, I'd write the name of a muscle, then behind it, I'd write all the different things that you need to know about the muscle. So writing it down helps you memorize, and then later with the cue cards, it's an easy way to go over it again. I'd also say try to get stages and internships or get involved in research. It's a great way to get to know your program further, and try to get involved in the community. So I think, yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you choose McGill.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You already have a few questions, so wonderful. We will address them after Mark's presentation. So just as a reminder, as Mark gets ready for his presentation, please make sure that you ask questions, and if you want, you can target your question and we will take them at the end. Okay, Mark, so over to you.
Okay, sorry, just a moment.
No worries, no worries. We can see your presentation.
You can see it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so hello everyone. So I figured that I was curious to see what the other students had prepared, and I figured that I would try to go in a little bit different of a direction, because I thought that and expected that they were maybe going to talk a little bit more about courses specifically and research, which is of course really important, but I thought maybe you don't want to hear about it a third time. So I figured I would talk a little bit more about extracurriculars, just challenges in general that I maybe faced in my first year and stuff like that. So just a little bit about me. I will reintroduce myself just because I'm sure some people have joined the webinar after we introduce ourselves. So my name is Mark. I am from New Jersey in the United States, and I am a U3 student in my third year at McGill. I am in the faculty program of music. I play trumpet. I'm also doing a Bachelor of Science in Statistics and Computer Science, and then I'm actually also doing a minor in management. So I'm actually studying a whole bunch of different things, actually getting 2 bachelor's degrees, which is definitely not common at McGill, but it's definitely something that I'm passionate about, definitely passionate about everything that I'm studying. And in terms of extracurriculars and hobbies, I'm involved with student government, tutoring, and I really enjoy running. Oop. All right, so first I figured I would talk about some really important student services that we offer our students. All of these, I believe, almost all of them are for free, so that's really great. So the first one I'll talk about is the Wellness Hub. So if you are a non-Canadian citizen, you will be required to get international health insurance. And basically this gives you unlimited access to the Wellness Hub, which is where you'll go if you have any physical or mental health concerns. We also have the International Student Services Office. So they're basically in charge of figuring out if you have any questions about your immigration papers, in terms of your CAQ and study permit. Those are like the 2 main things you need to study at McGill. They're also in charge to help you with anything about finding a job off campus if you are eligible to, or if you want to become a Canadian citizen, because attending McGill University as an international student is actually a great way to become a Canadian citizen if that is the path you'd like to choose. We also have Drive Safe and Walk Safe. These are 2 amazing services that we offer. I love them so much. So the first one, Drive Safe, is basically if you're anywhere on the island of Montreal, because Montreal actually is an island, between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. But on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you can call the number if you feel unsafe, and students, volunteers will come pick you up and drive you home. And then we'll also have Walk Safe. So it's basically if you're on campus and you would like some students to walk home with you, you can call the number if it's late at night, and 2 students will come to you, pick you up, and walk home with you. Both of these services are offered for free, and I personally have not taken advantage of them, but I do really enjoy knowing that we have these available. Lastly, I'll be talking about the campus life and engagement team. So you'll see the little logo in the top right corner of your screen, CL&E. They're basically in charge of everything residence related. So this is, they're basically in charge of the housing preference form that you'll fill out to rank your preferences for which residence you want to live in. If you want to request a roommate, if you end up receiving like the living with a roommate, like a double room situation. Also, if you, in the unlikely event that you'd like to switch residences, you can definitely do that. But it's very unlikely, it doesn't happen too often, but they'll help facilitate that move from one residence to another. And they're also in charge of hiring floor fellows. So these are actually upper year students, kind of like RAs or dons, depending on where you're from. And these upper year students are basically there to kind of like be your guardian angel, just like look down on you, make sure everything's going well, and that you're really adjusting to university life and living on your own well. If you have any questions about where is this McGill building, where can I get the best poutine, or where can I get a haircut, maybe things that you might not think about before arriving to McGill, you can definitely ask them because they're definitely looking out for you, that's for sure. All right, so now I'll be talking about kind of what I've been involved with in terms of extracurriculars. So I've been really involved with student government. So you see that little logo there that says SSMU. This stands for Student Society of McGill University. This is just our student union on campus to make sure that we get representation on very important McGill councils. So I sat on a council that actually advocated for having a longer fall break, which we actually officially just passed and McGill administration just approved. So if you come next year, you'll actually be able to enjoy a longer fall break. That's awesome. I've also been a part of SMU's first year council in my first year. So it's basically a council made up of first year students, which is dedicated to hosting events for first year students to get to know each other and stuff like that. It's a really fun council. I made a lot of friends and connections on the council. We held a bunch of, for example, free food events for students to come, just have some food and enjoy. It was really great. In the bottom left corner of your screen, that's a departmental organization. That's the actually Nursing Undergraduate Society. So separate from SMU, which is kind of like all of McGill, we actually have departmental associations. So nursing has their own, psychology, political science, music, mechanical engineering, for example. Almost all majors have their own society. And so it's actually a great way to get involved with talking to professors of your program, or also meeting or really it's like having connections with fellow team members on your council. For example, a lot of them will probably be entering the field that you will also be entering, so having those connections are also great as well. I definitely encourage you to get involved in student government. It's a great way to meet other people, but that's definitely not the only way that you can make friends, I promise you. So now we're talking about the music and theater scene, kind of like a little bit of the arts. As I am a music student, I figured I would talk about it a little bit. So at the top right corner of your screen, that's the McGill Opera rehearsing, and you can see the little like pit orchestra below. And you'll see that there's actually a student conducting that ensemble. He's actually wants to become a conductor, so they actually let him conduct a rehearsal, which is pretty cool. But if you are not a music major, you can actually still keep up with your instrument. We have an orchestra for you. You can also keep up with, if you want to keep up with your voice, we have a choir that you can be a part of, and actually you can actually audition for upper level choirs because you do actually have a few spots open in our choirs, so you can actually perform with some of our music performance majors, which is awesome. We do have 5 a cappella groups on campus, so that's pretty cool. It's literally like pitch perfect. They have like the riff offs or whatever it's called, like where they like each sing a song one at a time. I don't know, it's really cool. And then the 3 little bullet points on the left side of your screen, Discover McGill is basically an event that takes place usually right before classes start. I'm not sure if it's happening this year, but basically all 7,000 first year students will be in the stands of our football stadium, I guess. And the dean will welcome you, and the student body president will introduce themselves, and then they will welcome you down to the field, and you can go to different stands and find different services and clubs to join. If you happen to miss that, we'll also have student activities night, which I know will be happening either in person or virtually because it did happen virtually these last 2 semesters. This is basically a great way to get involved and see what is out there for you. There's so many different clubs to join. There's like a wine lovers club, chocolate lovers club, there's a Quidditch team. There's literally so many different things you can take advantage of. So I definitely recommend to take advantage of at least one club or student government position, just because if you only study, in my opinion, you'll go crazy, because if you only spend all day just studying, like you're gonna get burnt out, in my opinion. But it's really up to you what you want to get involved with. And lastly, I'm sure you're wondering, like, why does it say Riverdale there? So I'm sure, well, I can't assume, but I'm assuming that a lot of students are aware of the show Riverdale, which is on Netflix. Actually, the concept of Riverdale was actually invented at McGill, and then it was eventually like adapted for a TV show. It's actually written as a play by a McGill student, so that's kind of cool. I just like to throw that really random fun fact in there. So this is my last slide. So a lot of students are usually concerned about, am I able to work on campus? And so the answer is yes. So as an international student, that was something I was concerned about. I just wanted to know if I would be able to work on campus. The answer is yes, as I am working right now. But basically, once you get your study permit in the mail, normally it will say, this will also work as your work permit. And that allows you to work on campus for an unlimited amount of hours. You can work as much as you want. Off campus, if you want to work, you can work up to 20 hours a week during the semester and then 40 hours a week during scheduled breaks. So you can still definitely work as an international student. And for my Canadians on this presentation, obviously, like you can still work. It's as if you're working in your hometown. Do I need to know French is another question I commonly get. And the answer is no, definitely not if you want to work on campus, as McGill is an English-speaking university. You are allowed to submit work in French as a side note, but all of our classes are instructed in English, except for language course, of course. But off campus, if you're looking for a job, some positions might require you to be bilingual, as it's, I don't know if it's like an official law, but literally like every single interaction you might have with a worker, let's say if you're going to Starbucks and you're ordering your drink, they're required to know English and French. It's very, very, very bilingual, definitely at least in the downtown area, but also like kind of in the outskirts of Montreal as well. So if you are a recipient of financial aid, you'll actually be automatically enrolled in what we call our eligible at least, what we call our work study program. This just gives you some preference for some jobs on campus over maybe some people who aren't eligible for the work study position. Next up, we're talking about Career and Planning Services Office. This office is used a lot. It's actually a free service that you can take advantage of as a McGill student. So basically how the system works is if you want to get your CV looked at, if you want to get your resume looked at, you can definitely get that looked at here for free. They'll also do like mock interviews with you if you have an internship interview coming up. They're super helpful. And then lastly, I'll be talking about faculty internship offices, so specifically for the Faculty of Science and also the Faculty of Arts and Science. So basically, if you want to get an internship in a specific role, you can actually go to the Science or Arts and Science Faculty Internship Office, and they will let you know if they have had any companies reach out to them saying that they're looking for an intern. This is definitely a common scenario that might occur simply because McGill is definitely one of the, well, in my opinion, the most prestigious university in Montreal. And so if any Montreal companies are looking for interns, they're definitely going to reach out to McGill. So it's really nice to have that internship office because when they connect you, I think it kind of gives you a little bit of a maybe an advantage over your peers. So yeah, it does conclude my presentation. Thank you guys all for listening. I hope you guys got a lot of all three of our presentations.